I'm actually surprised someone hasn't taken a few minutes to respond to this video, but I'll take the opportunity to do so now. Although I really liked Joey Fatone when he was a member of NSYNC, I feel this fallacious video he's become a part of should be refuted. First and foremost, to define someone as an atheist is a logical fallacy known as an irrelevant conclusion. Although it may be true that someone who doesn't believe in gods is an atheist, to define someone by their lack of belief in gods diverts away from the context of the word atheist. To call someone an atheist because they don't believe in your God is a red herring because you too lack belief in gods. If you're a Christian, you disbelieve in Ares, you disbelieve in Kang, or Raven, or Marduk, the list goes on. To a Christian, these gods are fictional characters based on primitive myths and legends. And at this point, it brings me to another logical fallacy called special pleading. If you're a Christian who rejects Hinduism or Islam or Wicca because you think your faith is correct and theirs isn't, you're most likely committing this fallacy. But without further ado, I will address the 5 questions. Number 1, aren't you using chance in the same way that an atheist uses the God of the gaps argument? The answer is no. Scientists don't believe that everything happened by pure chance. This is a straw man argument. There's a concept that viewers should look up called emergence, which, briefly speaking, refers to the way complex systems and patterns arise out of a multiplicity of relatively simple interactions. There is no faith required to believe in emergence because there's tons of empirical evidence to support that it happens. Quote, Darwinism makes chance in the form of random variation. No, it doesn't. Genotypes, phenotypes, natural selection are observable facts in science. If that doesn't sound intelligent to Joey, then maybe he should go back to biology class. Number 2, why should there be something instead of nothing? Well, I'm here because my dad knocked up my mom in the early 80s. As for why there is existence as opposed to none, I obviously don't know. But this is where the flying spaghetti monster argument enters into the conversation. If I don't know, am I allowed to just make up magical explanations? At this point, I'd like to address the false dichotomy that Christians love to present. Christians are under the impression that it's either Christian God or no God. If there is a God, how do you know it's yours? How can you honestly say that monotheism makes more sense than polytheism, for example? I mean, Christians claim the finite universe was created by an infinite perfect God. That doesn't make any sense at all. The universe is imperfect, which defies all logic that it was spawned by something that was already perfect. If God was perfect, there'd be no reason to create anything. If God is infinite, then an infinite amount of time would have to pass before he decided to create anything, which is, of course, a logical and mathematical impossibility. I'd say if any theistic explanation made sense, it would be a polytheistic one, that this imperfect finite universe would have been created by a team of imperfect gods. At least you don't have to deal with the internal contradictions of omnipotence, omniscience, and omnibenevolence in a polytheistic universe. Bottom line, who says Christianity is the most logical theistic possibility anyway? False dichotomy, you gotta look it up. Atheists say the universe has existed for no reason. Another straw man argument. I don't believe the universe exists for no reason. I believe it originated with the Big Bang and processed from there. The reason I believe this is because the Big Bang theory is, again, supported by mounds of empirical evidence, and it takes no faith to believe in the observable. Biological life bears the remark of intelligent design. My microwave reheats pizza because it's a god. Seriously. ID is a pseudo-intellectual joke. If you want to learn about biological complexity, get an education on the subject, and leave creationism in churches. 3. Where do you get your morals from? And this is the quote that they gave that is the naturalistic view. In order to survive, animals develop through the process of natural selection. Naturalistic forces mold certain behavior which simply functions and allows organisms to survive and exist. Actually, not the organism, but the species. In some cases, it requires sacrificing individual organisms so that the larger species can survive. This is how it works. A wolf pack will disassociate a member if they harm one of the cubs. A vampire bat will regurgitate blood in order to feed a hungry comrade. A species will maintain a moral order to survive. Why do we make laws? We make them so that individuals in our species can feel protected and for the sole purpose of living happily and safely. The golden rule in philosophy is, and this predates Christianity by centuries, by the way, is to treat people as you'd want to be treated. and to do what you think is best for the general population. This is the most basic moral code within our species, as well as many others. And this is where this video takes a ridiculous turn. This is all morality ends up being. You have to admit this is a huge problem because the category of things we call moral is not adequately engaged just by description of past behavior. Morality entails a look forward into the future, not just the past. Not just looking backwards on what they have done, or what was done by certain individuals which they happen to call moral. Are you fucking serious, Joey Fatone? The Christian belief is that a Jew was sacrificed 2,000 years ago so that the followers could live forever. And ultimately, Christians believe that he'll come back and end the world and thus punish anyone who didn't believe that he would. If this is what you call morality, then it's really no wonder that so many people refer to Christians as hypocrites. Quote-unquote morality is prescriptive, so let's kill people for working on the Sabbath. Question 4, moving on, how did morals evolve? I'll use the Bible for this one. Why don't we publicly execute people anymore, or own slaves, or force rape victims to marry their assaulters, or keep women's opinions silent, or avoid mixed fibers like the Bible says we should? Because the Bible is outdated and primitive, and people only today selectively follow its teachings for this reason. Our morality has changed because our natural compassion to the fellow members of our species has slowly pulled away from the chaotic fear and intolerance inspired by religious and traditional dogmas. And finally, question 5. Can nature generate complex organisms in the sense of originated when previously there were none? Yes, it's called abiogenesis, and it can be repeated in a lab. I hope this video added some insight, and thank you for listening.